the Shades of Entrepreneurship, where we interview entrepreneurs to inspire the future entrepreneur. I'll be your host, Mr. Gabriel Flores. So grab a drink, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. My next guest is accomplished DJ, entrepreneur, and technology pioneer with over 20 platinum records, 40 gold records, and a triple nomination for prestigious Danish DJ awards. Peter is one of Denmark's top DJs. Please welcome the founder of Telzio, Peter Schroeder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shades of Entrepreneurship. This is your host, Mr. Gabriel Flores. Today, I'm here with Peter Schroeder in one of the coolest backgrounds I have seen. Is this virtual or is this really your background?
What do you think?
Oh man, I'm struggling. It looks real. It looks pretty real.
Could I go like out?
Oh, freaking amazing. This is just, oh man, Peter, I love it already. Now Peter's here with Telzio. Did I pronounce that correctly?
That's right, yeah.
All right, so we're going to be talking a little bit about that. But before we get into all that, Peter, would love for you to introduce yourself. Who is Peter Schroeder?
Wow.
A loaded question.
And here we go. We started. Peter Schroeder is a guy from Denmark who moved to LA about 10 years ago. Has a background in music and tech, kind of simultaneously my whole life. And running a tech company right now. Officially never stopped being in music. Just kind of happened to not do it right now.
So tell me a little bit about your music career, because you mentioned you're in tech, but you are also a DJ, if that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was, I think, 15 years professionally playing all over the world, all kinds of different things from small nightclubs to big festivals.
Wow. How did that kind of get into the music world? How do you get into being a DJ?
Well, I mean, my parents are musicians, so it probably starts there. My dad was out on gigs my whole childhood, every weekend, and my mom was a pianist, and so it's in the family. But I think when I was in maybe third grade or something like that, I saw a DJ at a school dance, and it's like, that is so cool how he can just play a song and people are having a good time because of what he puts on. That's really cool. So I just got a couple of ghetto blasters and started playing at my friends' birthday parties, and from there on, eventually I was old enough to get a gig at a nightclub, and yeah, then I just kind of did it from there. Wow.
So I really love that inspiring story, because music in my family is very big. My dad actually grew up as a musician for Los Supremos over there in Texas. So folks, if you lived around that era, back in the 80s, you probably saw my dad playing. But I would love to hear now, what is your current venture? Tell us about what your current entrepreneurial venture you're doing. What does it do?
So Telzio is, if you really boil it down, a phone service provider, a phone company. We provide a business phone service. So we build our own platform. It's a software as a service thing, so it's in the cloud. Build a platform where you can kind of manage everything, and then take and receive calls anywhere in the world with your cell phone or a desk phone or a computer. So that means that you have employees anywhere in the world. You can have employees anywhere in the world, and they can take the calls just as if they were in your office. There's no hardware to install or anything like that. And then we just build a lot of cool features around that, and if anything you would really expect from business phone service.
Man, I feel like that is something that is drastically needed in the healthcare world, because there are a lot of, working from home professionals, but more importantly, having that security, right? Having that secure conversation that has these safeguards around it, so the conversation doesn't get out.
Exactly, and that's where HIPAA and all that kind of stuff is very important. So it's one of the most the things we've spent most time on over the past couple of years is really the security, because we see all our competitors getting hacked, and we definitely don't want to become one of those guys. So
certainly,
so we take that kind of serious, yeah.
So can you take me back to the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey? What motivated you to take the leap and start your own business?
I've kind of always done that, and it's never really been a a conscious thing for me to start businesses per se. It's more, it just happens to be what you do when you do what I do. So like when I was 14, I started a website, and that became the biggest artist community, I guess, social media before social media even existed, for artists in Scandinavia, and eventually got acquired when I was 18, and that happened to become a company because you have expenses, and you have you have some revenue, and then you have a company, right? Later on, I started a record label, and that was really just out of interest, but also because I had a band, and I saw what the label that we were signed to, what they did, and I was like, I can do that. I mean, just side note, I have major ADD, so that's a very important trait. But yeah, I just see what they can do, and I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And then I had a record label, started signing other artists, right? And when I started this current company, Telzio, was really just because I needed a phone system for another project I was working on, and I couldn't find anything out of the box that was good and I could afford, and had the features. So I'm like, okay, I'll just build it myself. And all of a sudden, I had a lot of fun with it, and all of a sudden, I had this little product that could actually be used by other people, and then let's put it online and see if someone wants to sign up, and they did, and now it's been 10 years.
Man, it's I love the stories because it's like people, I think, I kind of feel like these ideas and big businesses populate overnight, but it takes a lot of time and different iterations and pivots and things of that nature. Now, with that said, what was the biggest challenge you faced as a new entrepreneur, and how did you overcome it?
So I think when I first started out, if we skip the first company, where I was just a teenager, but when I had my record label, I hadn't. But first of all, I hadn't gotten the diagnosis ADD, so I didn't know as much about what that means as I do today. But I also didn't know as much about myself back then, and I thought I could do everything, and I wanted to do everything because everything was fascinating and it's exciting, and I wanted to be part of it, and I wanted to help everyone. I'm a people pleaser, so everyone who asked me for anything, I would definitely do it. And I just got too much on my plate, and eventually I started, burning bridges because. One thing that's worse than saying no to someone asking you about something is saying yes and then not doing it, right? Like it's way worse than just saying no in the first place. And I didn't know that, so I burned some bridges, and I just like got too much on my plate. And eventually, my booking agent back then said to me, she pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you gotta fix this. There's something wrong. This is not you." And she facilitated the sale of my label, and I basically did a reset for a few months where I didn't do anything.
Man, it's interesting because I think starting a new business kind of has its rewarding moments, right? At times, and then it has a lot of its challenges. But let's talk about the rewards first. What are some of the aspects that you found relatively easy or enjoyable during that early stage of our entrepreneurial journey?
I think just doing a little bit of everything. I think one thing that really benefited me was because we didn't have any money and we didn't raise money. We tried in the beginning. We can talk about that separately, but it's the whole thing about having to do everything yourself is kind of exciting, and that really gave me some understanding, especially because I did customer support, tech support, and sales. It gave me an understanding of what is it that our customers want, what is it that they need, what is it that they don't even know that they want or need. So it allowed me to not only build the product, but build a better product than our competitors, because I had some insights that these people that run those companies just don't. I mean, I think it's important that the CEO should really just sit down and do tech support for a few days a year. It's the best way to get in touch with your customers.
Yeah, I feel like entrepreneurs, business owners, you kind of have to be the jack of all trade, master of none. And you have to be willing as a leader and a CEO and a founder of the organization. If you're going to ask, one of your employees to, get down on hands and knees and scrub the floors, as a true leader, You have to be willing to get down and on your hands and knees and scrub the floor with that individual, because I think that shows a few things. One, it allows you as a leader to kind of understand what your employees go through on a daily basis. So when they come to you with issues and concerns, you now have practical sense of what that looks like, right? Because you've gone through it as well. So you're able to relate to it. But more importantly, the relatability piece is also huge, right? When you're a leader of an organization, retaining employees is a very valuable thing, because hiring and recruiting and training is expensive. And so when you get a good employee, you want to retain them. And if you're a leader that is disconnected from your frontline employees, it's very difficult to retain those individuals. And so that relatability is really important, making sure you're getting in there, asking the questions, maybe doing a round. What I mean by rounding is actually going out to the different departments and rounding on them, having conversations with them, seeing what's working, what's not working. Because truthfully, some of the best thoughts and ideas might come from those individuals that are working your front line.
100%. And just keep that thing in mind. Nothing is above you. Nothing is below you. You're everywhere. And it's true. Like, you literally get the best ideas. I got all the features that we built first that our competitors copied later on. I got them from our customers, and it was not necessarily that they said they wanted certain things, but it was really just I heard what their pain points were. I heard what they're struggling with, what is it that they're trying to do. And then you start thinking, okay, how can I fix that for them? What can I invent for them that will fix this thing? I would never have known those things without talking to them.
Yeah, and one of the things you mentioned too is under promise, over deliver, right? Yeah. Is one thing is it's really important, folks, for understanding this is really when the under promise, over deliver is really a sales tactic, right? And what I mean by that, and saying, hey, I can actually do this project in 2 weeks, and then you have it done in a week. Okay, that's over delivering. Under promising is saying, hey, I can give you these two for sure. I have these two like tools or two software tactics I can give you, and then you present them with 3. Right. Yeah. Again, you don't want to like overstate what you're able to do. And again, the greatest form of a compliment is somebody mimicking what you do. Right. I can't remember exactly exact phrase. Right. But, so when your competitors are out there doing exactly what you're doing, I mean, that's a great form of, that's flattering. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It really is. I don't take it personally. I don't get upset. It is upsetting to see when someone that copies it 1-to-1 and then makes more money on it than you do. That can be a little. But you know what? At the end of the day, you made something good that's working, and that just validates it. So I don't really take it personally.
Yes, I think it's the greatest form of flattery is intimidation or Yes, you guys know what the hell I'm saying. When you imitate somebody, imitate. Yeah, man, tripping over my words. It's getting late, folks. I'm telling you. So now let's talk about, we talked about some of the fun stuff, some of the easy things, right? But let's kind of talk about some of the harder things, right? So what would you say, what were some of the biggest mistakes you made in your career, and what did you learn from them?
I would say in this current company, not hiring a sales director or something like that first. That was my mistake. So I'm not revenue driven in my mind at all. I'm very much product and just want to build something that's great for the user. But at the end of the day, we are running a company, and I have a responsibility towards my employees and customers as well, that we keep growing and that we do well, so we can keep making a good product, right? And people can get their paycheck and take care of their families. So obviously I have to think about that, and we could have grown a lot faster if we had, done that from the beginning. We, like I said, we are 10 years in, and we took the long route. One thing is we didn't take funding, and we also never paid for advertising. So we literally just like took the longest road you could possibly think of in an industry that's dominated by huge, multi-billion-dollar international corporations. Those are the kinds of people we go up against. So having someone that is revenue driven, just like a general mindset, would probably have been something that I should have done earlier on than what I did.
I feel like that's, I ask this question often to guests, and I think that's the thing that they talk about often is outsourcing the things that they're not good at, right? And making sure they find an expert in that field. And I'm the same way. I'm kind of like, okay, I need to start outsourcing a lot of this, SEO, social media stuff, because I can do it, right? But it's super time consuming, and I think there's somebody better that can do it for me, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing, because and to go back to the ADD thing, that's even more pronounced there, because the problem about that diagnosis is you don't get things done that you're not interested in. I was told that my whole childhood. It was not that I was lazy, because I wasn't. I did so many things, and I wasn't bad at what I did. But if there's something I'm not interested in, it's just not getting done. It could literally take 20 minutes to do something, and it will, I'll postpone it half a year, and it's a drag. So understanding that about yourself, and then hiring people around you that are good at those things, so you can be good, because I see this diagnosis as a superpower. I will be able to, I can go to the bottom of the rabbit hole and start digging for more. It allows me to do certain things that other people might not be able to, but it also has the opposite effect, right? And understanding that, and having people around you that then are good at those things, that is amazing.
Yes, that is very true. In fact, folks, I'm gonna tell a personal story here. Just last week, and I've been struggling a lot this last year. It's been a lot in 2024. Been going through a lot, and so I went and decided to seek some professional help from a counselor. I'm like, hey, been going through this. Been feeling really dumb my entire life. I'll be completely transparent. And folks, if you go back and listen to my individual episode that I recorded for myself, I talk about my, when I was in the individual education program in school, and talking about I just really didn't feel adequate. Well, sure enough, I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and it made a lot of sense. And for the first time in my life, again, 40 years, I kind of don't feel dumb anymore. I felt like all of these things I was going through were validated, because again, to your point, Peter, when you're going down these rabbit holes, if I'm not interested in it, it's going to take me a long time to complete it. However, I notice if I'm interested in something, my focus on that project is razor thin. Like, I'm on it, right? And it's interesting because sometimes I'll be in a conversation, a senior leader or executive with a healthcare institution, having a conversation, and then my mind will wander onto something completely different. And then I'll come back to the conversation, but I'm like, holy crap, I don't know what the heck they just said the last 2 minutes at all. Yeah. And it's not intentional. It's like your ears, it's like all of a sudden everything just becomes white noise. And you really can't help it. And again, for the first time, and again, folks, the only reason I'm saying this, because one, don't be afraid to talk about mental health. Don't be afraid, because I was always afraid to talk about this, and I found out that it's actually not me. It's actually something I actually have that I could be corrected as well. And so that was actually reassuring. But again, just like entrepreneurship, you have to talk about your ideas, you have to talk about your thoughts and your emotions, because there's people out there that have advice that can help you be better. And so I'm very thankful for my counselor for kind of highlighting this issue for me, because Peter, man, I'm telling you, you go down this rabbit hole with this disease, and if it is not of interest to you, I'm waiting.
Yeah, no, it's spot on. Everything you said right there is so accurate. I can recognize everything. And especially the thing about your mind wandering. I can do that when I read a book. So I can read 3 pages of a book and then, wait, what did I just read?
Totally, all the time.
Like, how can you even do that? How is it possible?
It's weird. It's totally weird. And it's funny. Like, I tell people, like, I hate phone numbers. I absolutely hate phone numbers, because you'll give me your area code and I'll remember 503. Okay, but after that, my once you start naming more than like 4 numbers, my mind, it's like my short-term memory is just shot. It doesn't work the way that most people's do, and that's okay, because I'm starting to realize that. However, my entire life I've been trying to, figure it out in other ways by like reading even more, like going back and having to read the book twice. However, to Peter's point, if I'm in a fantasy book, like a book that I'm interested in, it is like tunnel vision on that book. I'm like, my mind is not anywhere else but inside that world of fantasies and dragons and elves. Yeah, folks, I'm a nerd. I don't care. I love to read about the dragons. But it's interesting because you can just narrow down on that really, really quickly.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing, and you know what? I don't see it as a diagnosis, like a bad thing. Like I said, it's a superpower if you understand it, and if you can turn it to your advantage, right? So then it becomes a superpower, and there's a lot of people that have it to some degree. And I mean, I'm surprised how many of my friends granted, I have been in the music industry for a long time, and most people there haven't. But I'm surprised how many people actually have it. And I think they say 5 to 7% of adults to some degree have ADD or ADHD.
Yeah. And then again, folks, I never know this until last week. I finally sought professional help and did this, questionnaire, and sure enough, right. But like Peter kind of says, it's a superpower, and kind of like Spider-Man says, the great Peter Parker, no pun intended here, but with great power comes great responsibility, right? And that is also the form of a leader. Now, we talked about leadership. How do you define leadership, and what qualities do you think are essential to being a great leader?
So I think, first of all, I think there's a common misconception between leaders and managers. People tend to confuse those two. So first of all, I want to say I'm a horrible manager. I hate telling people what to do, and I'm really bad at following up with it and making sure that they actually did it, which a manager should do. So for that same reason, our staff headcount in this company is probably 10% of our competitors with the same amount of customers. And that's really just because I don't want a lot of people. I just want some that are really good and can just pick out the things of my brain that I want to do, and without me even saying it. So I've been able to find those over the years, but that's managers are the ones that tell people what to do and make sure that it's done and runs things. A leader to me is really someone who has some kind of vision and can get people on board with it, get people excited about that same vision, and get them to, follow and not only follow, but maybe even go in front of you and do it better than what you could do. But just get that common vision spread out throughout your organization and get everyone on board with it, so that everyone works towards the same goal and everyone being excited about doing it, because you can't get good stuff done if people are not excited about what they do, and they need freedom to do that. So a good leader is someone who can inspire others to walk towards the same goal.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. In fact, it takes me back to that like meme of, a manager is an individual that's pushing the employees from the back up the hill. And then a leader is the person that's in front of everybody leading them up the hill, right? And that's kind of the difference, right? Because again, to your point, you have to create inspiration. And I talk about this also in other episodes about creating that value proposition, right? What do consumers feel like when they work with you? What's that feeling like, right? They want to feel cared for and about. They want that concierge service, right? They truly want personalized value, and they want it to feel like it's catered to them specifically.
Yeah, and that is a good point, because one of the things that I learned early on when I was doing tech support was that, and this comes from other companies that I saw, a few others that do this. If you talk to your customers the same way as you talk to your friends, don't put on a customer service hat. Don't talk with different words. Use the same words as you do with your friends. If you talk to them like that, it's going to give you two things. One thing is it's going to, show the customer that you have so much extra energy, and so you're so in control of your product, and you know everything about it, that you don't have to pretend like you're a customer. So you're not going by some kind of script. And the other thing is your customers are gonna give you so much more bandwidth to do your job better, because they believe that you're good and you're the expert. They don't sit around and wait for you to transfer them to a third line help desk or something like that. No, they believe, oh, I got the big cheese here. This guy knows what I'm talking about. So just be completely normal. Don't put on that sir hat and talk to people with different words. Just use the same. That is an important thing.
Yes, I agree. In fact, the way I kind of gauge intelligence is if you're able to explain something to me in a way a kindergarten could understand it, then I know you understand your product. If you're using like the box bullets and like hitting the key phrases, I'm kind of like, are you a salesperson? Because a salesperson hits the bullets. A founder, the person who knows their product, will explain it easy enough that a kindergarten can understand it.
Exactly. And that's actually a good point as well. The founders will always be the ones that can sell the product the best. And that's because they don't really have to sell it. They just believe so much in what they're building and know so much about it that no one else, all the little benefits and the reasons why certain things are built in a certain way. And that's hard to teach someone. It just takes time. which again is also why I like having just a very, very small staff and some really experts on it. If you go read our tech support, or sorry, our reviews on our company online, they all mention our tech support and how good it is, because, well, there's just 3 guys doing it. And normally you say that I think it's $7,000 users that a tech supporter should be able to handle. On like generally, ours are over 100,000 there. So yeah, it's really just because product is solid, right? But they know their stuff, so they don't really have to spend a long time on each one.
And it's interesting, like, to that point, it's crazy how we're talking about leadership and we're talking about the importance of that. When a founder goes out and they talk about their product, and the reason you mentioned they don't really have to sell anything is because they have that passion for it. Being a leader, right, and engaging your employees will create that same passion within them, so they can also go help you build that brand. So that's, again, this is very organic conversation, but it's all coming full circle for you folks. So I hope you understand it. The importance of leadership, the importance of engaging your employees, the importance of getting down on your hands and knees and scrubbing with them and learning the ins and outs. Because again, you're, as the founder, you're not going to be able to be in every sales room, right? But you still want your passion and your message to be conveyed to the point that it makes a sell, right? And that's learned from the founders.
Yeah, spot on. And you know what? I think one really important thing to add to that is you need to give your employees, room to do what they want to do and what they feel is the right thing. Also, when you think or know that this is going to fail, if there's a product or a project they want to run with, and you just already know, well, it's going to fail because of this and this and this, just let them do it. Because if they're allowed to do things on their terms, and then they have this autonomy that creates the passion that they need to do even better things that it's gonna work, right? I think it's called there's a book about this on Netflix. I think it's called No Rules Rule, and I really recommend reading that, because I was surprised how many parallels there are in terms of how they run Netflix and the culture there, and how I've been doing Telzio for the past 10 years. For me, I've never went to school for this, and I never really studied it. But it reassured me that we are doing something right, because we're doing a lot of things differently than everyone else. But it turns out that it's not completely wrong, and that book is really, really good on that particular topic.
This is very true. In fact, I mean, you look at Google, the Google search bar was created by an executive at Google, right? And the Frito-Lay's Red Hot Cheeto was created by the gentleman who was actually a housekeeper at Frito-Lay's for a while. Now he's an VP at Frito-Lay. So again, creating these spaces for employees to explore their own imaginations and visionary kind of entrepreneurial endeavors is very important, because I think it's actually not talked about enough. In fact, it seems like, at a very young age, once you get into middle school, hey, stop joking around, stop being imaginary, stop, playing with. No, never stop imagining, never stop innovating, always keep aspiring to do something different. And that's why I'm saying, hey, dragons and elves, folks, get in it. Get into all sorts of crazy things, because you will start to find ideas in places you never thought ideas came from. Traveling is a great way to find ideas. I mean, look at Starbucks, right? Starbucks was created because they visited Europe, and he's like, hey, I want to bring this to the States. Now we have Starbucks in every single corner, right? Yep. And so just, having that experience. Now, what would you say, we're talking about experimental, we're talking about leadership, but you're also talking about some of these traits as being an entrepreneur. What 3 traits do you think are critical for an entrepreneurial success, and how did they help you?
Well, I can only talk to mine, obviously, but I think you almost touched on it. Naivety and stubbornness. Those are, and I don't say persistence, I say stubbornness, very, very specifically. So naivety is really important. You have to have this playful explorer gene in you to go out and build something great. If you think about how irrational it was for me to start a phone company, I mean, who does that? And I think you can go up against AT&T with a 401k that you cashed out, or your wife's 401k that you cashed out, $16,000, and think you can compete against AT&T and Verizon. That makes no sense. but I knew I had a good product, and I knew I had something that I could sell to a few people. I didn't think about, hey, I'm gonna compete with these people. I'm just gonna carve out my little own corner over here, and then get some people to buy this product. So this naivety that you can actually make it in an industry, that's important. And then stubbornness is really this things that really drives me most is when people tell me no. If you don't want to see me succeed, don't ever tell me that I can't do
Oh
something.
man,
That's
exactly. That's fire. Let's throw some gasoline on the fire, because now you just pissed me off, and I'm going to make sure I do it.
exactly, and I'm going to show the whole world too that you were wrong. So I'm very stubborn, and my wife will definitely testament to that. But it's one of those things that really drive me, and I think it's important. And I don't even know what to say for the third. I think those two are just like so incredibly important. And maybe if I was to say a third thing is really understand yourself and understand your weaknesses. That's probably it. But yeah,
that's a great point. And I'm gonna be completely transparent here. I had a family member when I was younger, and I remember this to this day. I'm not going to say who it was. I'm not going to call out any names, but I do have a family member that specifically looked at me at the dinner table and said, "You'll never go to college." And guess what, folks? I graduated from Portland State, and then I got my undergraduate degree from Syracuse University. And every time I thought about it, I thought about that person. And I remember seeing that person's face, and I remember like, big middle finger in the air. Tell me what else I can't do so I can prove it to you. And I agree. I agree. I will prove you wrong 110%. If you tell me no, if you can't say me I can't climb Mount Everest with a bike on my back, shit, I'll put 2 bikes on it just to prove you wrong.
I saw a car with one of those custom number plates, license plates the other day. I think it was in Vegas. I saw it a while ago. It says "Told you," and I was just yes,
yes, right.
It was a big Bentley or something like that.
Yeah,
told you,
man. And again, folks, like I think I don't mean this in a malice way, but the person that hates on you the most is probably someone you already know. To be honest with you, mostly it's people that they grew up to school with. They're around. They don't want to see you succeed. And your biggest supporter right now is somebody you probably have never met.
Yeah.
So I want you to go out there and network and meet with people. Now, one of the things you also mentioned, Peter, was like having to compete against the AT&T and T-Mobiles of the world. What sets your company apart from competitors in the market?
So besides the fact that we have not been down since 2016, which is completely unheard of, our competitors say like, oh, we have 99.999% uptime. Well, that compares to 8 hours of downtime a year. That's pretty bad. But we haven't been down since 2016. That's one thing. We have a good product. But I think the main thing is really my Danish background, my mentality. One thing that I really hate that doesn't sit well with me is companies that have these plans that, you have a startup plan and a business plan, and then you have an enterprise plan. And to get all the really good features, you have to buy the enterprise plan. Can't afford that. So why is it that the enterprises that have already made it and that are making lots of money have to, they get to get all the important things that, will set you apart and that will accelerate your business, and the other ones don't? That just like, it doesn't compute. So one thing that I did from the beginning with the company is we did a different billing model then, and in the beginning it was really hard to actually explain this to people why this was better, because 10 years ago this was pretty much unheard of. But instead of having a user plan where you pay a fixed fee per user and then you get unlimited calling and all that, we just charge you for the minutes and the text you send, right? And then you get all the features from the beginning. So you get the same features as Samsung and Facebook, all our biggest customers. If you're a company with 2 employees, you get the exact same things and you pay the same minute rate. Granted, you can get a better minute rate if you sign a contract or if you by a lot of minutes, we will give you a little bit of discount, but not too much. We don't want to set people apart, and that way, it's fair for everyone. Everyone has the same playing field from the beginning. But another thing that's interesting is, it works for us because and it scales. So all of a sudden we can be appealing to a large, a wide range of customers. Because, if you're a 2-person employee, well, then you probably don't talk as much as a company with 5,000 employees, right? So it scales, and on top of that, you just get customers that will stick with you for a long time and kind of grow with us. I love that approach, and I've seen it, really spread, not just with telecom, but all kinds of businesses. Stripe for payment processors do the same thing, and AWS actually, Amazon Web Services, they're doing it the same way as well now, or they have been. But so many different companies are starting to do this now, but not 10 years ago.
Yeah. You hear that, Salesforce? So many companies are doing that. Hint, hint, Salesforce. If you can stop trying to nickel and dime me, my goodness. To your point, where I'm working in a nonprofit healthcare institution, and every time I work with these CRMs, it's like, here's this phenomenal product we have for you. Oh, you're a nonprofit. Well, this is actually the bucket over here for you. But if you want to pay the additional, $1,500, we can get you into that Bentley that has the "told you so," license plate, drive around Vegas, right? But until then, here's your peanuts.
And you know what? It actually pisses me off because it's some gatekeeping, right?
Big time.
It's preventing the smaller ones to be successful, really. And for us, because we are such a sensitive kind of company, we have to we store really important information for our customers,
Right.
voicemails and texts and stuff like that. We have to have our security completely in the top. So one of the things that is just a non-negotiable for any service that we buy is single sign-on, that we can log on and we can log a customer or a user account from an employee down if we need to, and we don't forget to cancel users in different platforms. It's super important for us, and for some reason that feature seems to be only for enterprises. I don't get it.
Yes, it does baffle me, the packages and deals. It's like it's kind of like the old saying goes, you have to have money to make money. Kind of thing, right? Now, what would you say, going through your career, what would you say is something that you went through that helped you be successful today?
Well, I think I've always had to fight for everything. It probably also comes with the ADD thing and not understanding what that was. But I've never been that good-looking kid that plays the guitar and is really good at football and that all the girls want. And I've not been the funny guy either. I've never been a natural at anything good. But I will put in the most hours. There's no doubt about that. So I will become the best eventually. But that's definitely been throughout my whole life. As far back as I can remember, I've always had to kind of fight for everything. I've never had a mentor. I wish I had one that could just give me the shortcuts, tell me the little things that you don't learn from reading a book or going to school. These little, or giving you the context to speak to the right people and the caveats and all that stuff. I think that's really, really, really important. And I've started to understand that later on, that I should probably actively have looked for one. But it's really hard to find a mentor, because to me, a mentor is not just someone who you just like get on board and it's someone who is as vested in whatever you're doing as you are, and wants to see you succeed as much as you do. And because without that, it's just a person that will tell you a little bit of here and there. But if you have that one person in your corner that has done this before and has this knowledge and is likes you and wants you to succeed, then it's super, super important. It's super, super powerful. And I've seen some of my colleagues or friends, have that, and I really envy it. But yeah, I think my whole life has been this thing, and I'm just like one of those little toys that just like tip over or you can knock over and it just like flips back up and boing boing boing, like so I'll keep going. But yeah, I definitely had quite a bit of that.
Love it. And I think the purpose on mentors, I think, is really important. I've had a mentor kind of in a transition, a new mentor as I kind of do a different career path, right? But with that said, folks, I hope this podcast, I hope you can use it as kind of a mentoring, because as Peter mentioned, I really want to expose and bring to light some of those things that aren't in the book, right? The things that the entrepreneurs do go through that I really want you to succeed in learning about. And in addition to that, this is a great time to plug the newsletter. You can actually subscribe to the Shades of Entrepreneurship newsletter at theshadesofe.com. Again, this comes out every Wednesday, a lot of great entrepreneurial nuggets. In fact, you can also stream this show, because Peter said he's not a good-looking guitar player. I will detest. He's a goddamn good-looking guy right here. And this hair is just immaculate hair. So what I want you to do, folks, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can actually watch this podcast as well as stream it. Or if you're so inclined to, you can join our Patreon page. It's a fan page. It's $5 a month. And you'll actually receive this video a week before it airs audio. In addition, you'll have access to our book that I wrote, as well as some other valuable assets. Now, Peter, before we go, What advice would you have for an aspiring entrepreneur that's looking into getting into the business and looking into jumping in the entrepreneurial pool?
Be ready for the perpetual roller coaster. It's never gonna end. You think it's gonna end? It's never gonna end. It's ups and downs a lot, and you really have to have the stomach for it. But it's also incredibly rewarding if you go through with this and if it's for you. For me, it's not about the money. It's about the fact that I can do whatever I want whenever I want, but I can't. There's no way I can. But the thing in the back of your head that I could go down right now and go to a store and buy something that without having to ask to leave my office. That feeling is worth everything. And I think that's really, if you go to prison, that's what that's all about. It's about taking that away. Your free will to do. So being an entrepreneur is the exact opposite of that. You work towards, you're willing to work 80 hours a week to not work 40 hours a week, right? But it's worth everything, every part of it. Yeah.
It's true. I put this meme on my Instagram account. So folks, if you like memes, I put one. It's the Star Wars, of when young Skywalker, right, and he's getting married, and he's like, it's basically it's like, oh, so you took the day off, right? It's like, oh, I'm not. I took the day off, and then it's the wife, so you're not working, right? And then it's the guy like looking at him like, oh, I didn't say I wasn't working. I just said took the day off because again, with entrepreneurship, there really are no days off. I mean, I feel like I'm cracking away and I'm in the middle of the beach and still doing something, but that's just how it goes.
Oh yeah.
So Peter,
but it doesn't feel like work.
No, it doesn't feel like work. Not if you love it. Not at all. Well, Peter, thank you again so much for your time. Last question. If folks are interested in getting in contact with you, maybe they want to follow you on the social sites, how can they get in contact with you?
peterschroeder.com is my website. There's all the social media stuff and my email. If you want to get in touch with me, please do. I love getting actual people reach out to me instead of sales bots.
Yeah, I get a lot of sales bots. I love it.
So do that. peterschroeder.com. There's also links to Telzio and all that stuff.
Perfect. So again, peterschroeder.com. If you forget that, you can also subscribe to the newsletter on theshadesofe.com, which will have Peter's information the week before the episode airs, the week the episode airs, and the week after the episode airs. You can also subscribe to Apple or Spotify podcasts. You can follow us on the social sites, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Again, very important. You have the YouTube. You can also watch these videos now, so I really appreciate it. Peter, thank you again so much for your time. I really do appreciate you coming out here and having this conversation. Super insightful, very educational, really good talk. Folks that listen at home, please take care of yourself. Thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you for tuning in to the Shades of Entrepreneurship. For more information, please follow the Shades of E on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or visit theshadesofe.com.